Dr. R. Sugaraj Samuel. He is working as a professor in physics at New College, Chennai. He is also training students for IIT JEE, AIEEE and BIT SAT. He has more than 16 years experience in both teaching and research. He has published a book titled The Complete Handbook of Bachelor of Electronic Science Practicals, which is prescribed for the syllabus for BSc Electronic Science by University of Madras. He has presented papers in several national and international conferences and has also conducted many training programs and workshops to motivate energetic students. His research areas are ultrasonic, polymers, crystal growth, and photovoltaic systems. He is experienced in both regular classroom teaching and online teaching as well.
Welcome to UGC lecture series in BSc Honours in Physics. We have been discussing a series of lectures on the subject oscillations and waves. This is the 9th lecture in the series. Before we start this session, let us see the session outline for the lecture. In this session, we are going to learn elaborately about the theory of Bohr pendulum. Bohr pendulum is very much in the curriculum of this syllabus. It is in continuation to what we have discussed in the previous lecture. In the last lecture, we have learnt about the concepts pertaining to the compound pendulum. We have given a mathematical treatment to the expression we obtained for the time period in terms of the center of percussion and center of oscillation. We have come across the conclusion like center of percussion and center of oscillation could be interchanged, and one more inference we got: there are 4 points collinear with the center of mass or center of gravity of the oscillating body which have the same time period. And also we got expressions for the maximum time period of oscillation as infinity and minimum time period of oscillation which we got in terms of the lengths of the compound pendulum, the distance between the center of oscillation and center of percussion. And all those concepts are going to be used today in this lecture for understanding the working of a pendulum called Bohr pendulum. Bohr pendulum is also a compound pendulum, but here it has a definite shape. The compound pendulum could be of any shape, it is an arbitrary shaped body, but Bohr pendulum has a definite shape. Because of that only it is called Bohr pendulum. The body is nothing but a bar which is made to oscillate with respect to a particular point. Let us see what is a Bohr pendulum. Bohr pendulum is a special case of compound pendulum. Bohr pendulum is a 1 meter long metal bar with maybe 5 centimeter breadth and 0.5 centimeter thickness. It would be a meter scale that we use in the physics lab, but that is made of wood, but Bohr pendulum mostly will be made of metal, maybe iron or brass, whatever it is, but in appearance it will exactly look like a meter scale. It has many holes in it. It can be made to oscillate with respect to any one of the holes. Throughout the length of the Bohr pendulum, there are lots of perforations made, small holes, so that it could be easily suspended with an axis or any rod which is inserted through the hole, and the bar could be made to oscillate. Invariably, why many holes are made on the bar? That means we are likely to change the length or the distance between the point of suspension and the point of center of mass. but we need to analyze further how the oscillations are going to happen in the case of a bar pendulum. Before that, let us have a look at the bar pendulum itself, how it will appear. This is how the bar pendulum would look like. See, here it is a metal bar with lots of holes made in it. It could be made to oscillate with respect to any one hole. Here you have the point of suspension. Diagrammatically it is shown here. So, we can insert a rod or something and make it suspend through this, and the oscillations are possible. Exactly at the center we have the center of mass. So, separate calculation is not needed for finding the center of mass, because it is a uniform bar. Definitely the geometric center will be the center of mass, or obviously that is going to be the center of gravity through which the weight of the body or the gravitational force of the earth would act on the bar. So, we have made the shape very simple, a linear mass which is nothing but the bar, and about the length and about the point of suspension and point of oscillation, all these we are going to learn in this lecture. When we do this experiment, we can vary the length between the center of mass and the point of suspension and note down the time period of oscillation. In experiments, normally how do we measure the time period of oscillation? We will make the body oscillate maybe for 10 times. We will run simultaneously the stopwatch, and we will note down the time taken for the 10 oscillations and then divide it by 10, so that we get the time taken for one oscillation. It is customarily done normally in any lab. This is how we find the time period of one oscillation. So, once we experimentally note down, accurately measure the time period of oscillation and tabulate them, and these perforations on the holes are drilled in the bar pendulum on either side of the center of mass. That means, we can invert the pendulum quite easily. In the compound pendulum also, we have seen the point of suspension and point of oscillation could be interchanged, they will have the same period of oscillation. All those concepts we have learnt in the previous lectures, and here it is made very simple because it has the holes on either side of the center of mass. So, we can very easily invert the pendulum and do the experiments further. Let us see how it is done. As we bring this point of suspension closer and closer to the center of mass, what will happen? The time period of oscillation will increase. So, how it is demonstrated? You have, say, maybe this is the bar and it is suspended here and it is made to oscillate, it will oscillate, and as we bring the point of suspension closer to the center of mass, the oscillation is going to be very slow. That means, the time period will increase, and with respect to the center of mass, it will start rotating, the oscillation will cease. See, all these concepts we have seen in the previous lectures, maybe 2 lectures we have seen all this, but this is what is going to happen in the case of a bar pendulum also. But further down on the other side of the center of mass also, we have to fix the axis for the oscillation and do the experiment. Once we do the experiment, we need to draw a graph. So, that is important here. Let us see how the graph is drawn and all that after having look at the diagram. The time period is determined by pivoting the bar at different holes. The distance of each hole from the center of gravity is measured. A graph drawn between the distance from the center of mass along x axis and the corresponding time period along y axis. So, this is how you have to draw the graph. The distance of the point of suspension from the center of mass along x axis and the time period is taken along y axis. So, this is to be done for drawing the graph. See, this is how the graph will look like. Have a look at the graph. It has the distance on either side of the center of mass. See, this center of mass, you have the positive side, the upper could be taken as positive, the lower side could be taken as negative. So, here you take the distance of a particular point from the center of mass along the x axis. So, center of mass is center of gravity is marked as CG here, and in the y axis we are taking the period of oscillation. As I have demonstrated, the time period will shoot up as we come closer and closer to the point of center of mass. At the center of mass it will be infinity. So, this curve will never touch the y axis, it will go to infinity, maybe asymptotic or something. On either side we are doing, so we have the two symmetrical graphs like this. On the left side also we have the time period approaching the infinity, here also it is approaching infinity with respect to a point at center of mass. On the other side the oscillations are happening, and here also it is varying in a particular fashion. See, as the distance increases, the time period keeps decreasing, it reaches a minimum value, it is marked here as R, and then it is increasing. On either side the same trend is obtained. It is quite interesting, right? As the point of suspension is moved from either the end towards the center of mass or from the center of mass to the other end, the oscillations are varying quite interestingly. Nearer to the center of mass it is shooting up to infinity. As we move away, the time period decreases and reaches a minimum value, and further it tries to increase further. So, that is what we understand from the graph. Now, how much the mathematical expressions are going to support this trend, that is what we are going to see in this lecture. Let us take up the equation for the time period once again and give a mathematical treatment to the equation and analyze it mathematically. The time period of oscillation has this as the equation: t is equal to 2 pi square root of k square plus L square divided by L. This is a slightly modified form of the expressions we have already seen. See, normally this L is written in the numerator itself, but for some purpose of discussion this L is written here in the denominator, but this is quite the same equation which we discussed for the case of the compound pendulum. So, as usual the T, K and L, they have the same meaning. T is the time period of oscillation, K is the radius of gyration with respect to the point of percussion or suspension, and L is the distance between the point of suspension and the center of mass. Only for measuring L the center of mass comes into the picture, otherwise it is the point of suspension and again the point of oscillation, they get the preeminence as far as this pendulum is concerned. Let us mathematically rewrite this equation and see how this simple equation for time period could be modified. Have a look at this modified form of the equation. See, once again this L is taken to the numerator, so that we get the feel of the same kind of equations we got for the compound pendulum. Again the capital L has the same meaning, is called the equivalent simple pendulum, length of equivalent simple pendulum or effective length. But rather than discussing that old concept, let us give an additional modification to the equation. So, we are rewriting this equation, we are squaring on both the sides. So, the equation is squared and we have got the equation, modified equation like this. So, once again it is a quadratic equation in terms of L, the same equation we got in the previous lecture also, and this seems to be a quadratic equation in L. Now, it is linearly written, the denominator terms are not there. So, we have multiplied throughout with term 4 pi square, and this L will have two solutions, L1 and L2. In the previous lecture we just stated there are two solutions possible, we have never attempted to find out the value of L. We have simply stated there are two solutions possible, L1 and L2, and L1 and L2 they have their counterparts as k square by L1 and k square by L2 respectively, and we said there are 4 points for which the time period will be the same. But here we are mathematically going to find out the expressions for this L1 and L2, because there are some additional information we get from the mathematical equations. So, let us see how the quadratic equation for L is solved, small l is solved, and the two solutions L1 and L2 are written, and further how the modifications are made, so that we get further more information from this discussion. See, we can use the regular method of finding the solution for quadratic equation. It is minus b plus or minus square root of b square minus 4ac by 2a, that regular formula which I have not shown in this clipping, but it is a quite familiar method of finding the solution for the quadratic equation. The same thing is followed here, and we have got the two expressions for L1 and L2 like this. See, L1 takes this form and L2 takes this form, and there is a change only in the plus and minus. So, it is nothing but the minus b plus or minus square root of b square minus 4ac, that same regular formula is followed here. So, we have this as L1, this as L2, the two expressions. Thus, two different points have same time period t. One is point of suspension, the other is point of oscillation. See, L1 and L2 have their regular meaning here. L1 is the point of suspension, the distance, and L2 is the point of oscillation. These are measured with respect to the center of mass. Okay, that we have to keep in mind, because whenever we measure a length, with respect to what the length is measured, with respect to point, that point is the center of mass here. What further we have from the expressions for L1 and L2? Let us see. For a particular value of L, the time period is minimum, and if we look at the previous case, see, only when this term what is given within the square root, only when this vanishes, there is a minimum value possible. So, when this vanishes, it should be equated to 0. So, that is what is done here, it is equated to 0. We can rewrite this equation, and see, in that case, if this is made 0, then L1 and L2 will be equal, and we get that value as g t square divided by 8 pi square. Then this is the minimum value of time period for these two lengths. The time period will be minimum. See, this is shown here, the minimum time period, y axis as the time period, the point P and R marked here, these are the 2 points where we get the minimum time period. See, the time period is decreasing this side, and here also it is decreasing, and it has reached the minimum value at these 2 points. These are the two lengths, L1 and L2 will be equal. What is L1? PQ is the L1 and QR is L2, or vice versa, we can take PQ as L2 and QR as L1, whatever way it is, because they are equal. This implies the time period is minimum when the point of suspension and the point of oscillation are equidistant from the center of mass, because L1 is equal to L2. For this condition, the time period is minimum, and that time period is equal for the two lengths L1 and L2. Obviously, this L1 and L2 are equal for the minimum time period. Let us discuss further based on the equation what will be the maximum time period of oscillation that should support what results we have got in the case of compound pendulum, because bar pendulum is the special case of compound pendulum. So, the results that we get here should perfectly match with the earlier concepts of compound pendulum. So, let us see what do we get. The maximum time period, we need not do anything, we can take up the good old equation and say when L is equal to 0, the time period is infinity. So, this is obvious from the graph obtained. See here, when L becomes 0, when L approaches 0, the t shoots up and the t goes to infinity. When L is 0, when it is coinciding with the y axis, then the time period reaches infinity. That is taken from this equation, or the previous equations could also be taken up, but this seemed to be an easy approach for proving the time period could even go up to infinity when the length L is taken as 0. Anything else we could identify further from this equation and the analysis, let us see further. See, these are the further interpretations we have from the graph. From the previous equation, it is clear that the L1 and L2 are added, we will have a term g t square divided by 4 pi square. So, that could be used here. What are these L1 and L2? These L1 and L2 are the lengths which show the point of suspension and point of oscillation, though those are at the same distances, which is given by this expression. And if we want to see where this L1 and L2 appear in the graph, see L1 is the CA and CE, that is one length L1 and this is L2. Similarly, that is L1 on either side, L2 is CB and CD. So, what do we infer from this? Again there are 4 points we have in the case of Bohr pendulum which have the same time period. Here a horizontal line that is drawn cuts a particular part of this graph at 4 different points. So, all these points will have the same time period, that is what is reiterated here. Let us see. And if we add L1 and L2, what do we get? L1 and L2 are added, AD is the L1 plus L2, because AC is L1 or and CD is L2. When we add from the point A to D, it is L1 plus L2, or this side from B to E is also it is L1 plus L2. So, we can easily measure the term L1 plus L2 from the graph itself. So, that is the advantage of this graph. And what is the use of finding this L1 and L2? We will be able to calculate or determine the radius of gyration k itself from the graph. Let us see how the radius of gyration is calculated. Have a look at the equation. We know that this is the equation for time period of oscillation. Instead of L2 we can write it is k square divided by L1, and this k square by L1 is nothing but L2. So, the k square is written as the product of L1 and L2 from the expression, and k is the square root of L1 multiplied with L2. The product L1 and L2 you take and take the square root of it, we will be able to find what is this k. What do we have to do for finding L1 and L2? Again from the graph we can take the values of L1 and L2, that is what is done here. So, k could be calculated from the graph either taking these lengths AC and BC, multiply, take the square root, or the other pair CD and CE and multiply them and take the square root. Radius of gyration could be easily calculated for a Bohr pendulum from this graph. That is the advantage of plotting the graph in the case of Bohr pendulum. Especially in the case of compound pendulum, drawing the graphs will be little difficult because measuring the length is not that easy, because it is the compound pendulum is a arbitrarily shaped body. So, how do we measure the lengths? It is little difficult. So, this analysis is difficult for a typical compound pendulum, but the modified compound pendulum which is called as the Bohr pendulum, where the measurements could be easily made, lengths could be easily measured, and for that we can do this kind of analysis, because the measurement of lengths are very easy in the case of Bohr pendulum. Only the distances are to be measured with respect to the center of mass, and we have to do the experiment, plot graph, from the graph everything else could be calculated. So, or else determination of the k, radius of gyration, by any experimental method will be very difficult, but here the graph very easily helps us to calculate the radius of gyration of the bar pendulum. Bar pendulum, here we mean the bar itself. What else we could do with the graph? There are lots of things in the pipeline. Let us see one by one. The determination of G is also possible. Normally, for the determination of G, we use a simple pendulum. We take a bob, suspend it using a string, make it oscillate, note down the time period and note down the length, modify the equation for G, and we can find out we can determine the acceleration due to gravity G. That is quite possible with the bar pendulum also, because here it is very technically done. We have a plot, the graph with us. From the graph we can calculate everything and determine the value of G. How it is done? Let us quickly have a look at this. This is the equation we have for time period. Since the value L1 plus L2 and T could be determined from the graph, it is possible to calculate the value of G. We have to only modify this equation for G, and this L1 plus L2 is given here. It is nothing but the distance AD or the distance BE, which could be inferred from the graph. Directly we can substitute. T is available from the experiment, so we can determine the value of G using the graph. And bar pendulum will give a quite accurate result, because we are plotting the graph and measuring the distances accurately, and that only thing is the time period has to be measured using a sophisticated stopwatch, and the measurements are to be taken accurately. Let us see the summary for today's lecture before we wind up. In this lecture we have seen the concepts of bar pendulum. The graph drawn gave many insights, like for two different points we have the same time period, and the point of suspension and point of oscillation could be interchanged. So, it is mentioned here. The minimum and maximum time period of oscillation is possible to measure from the graph, and the determination of radius of gyration is also possible from the graph, and we can even calculate the acceleration due to gravity from the plotted graph. When we plot the graph, we have to be very careful. We have to take the distance from the center of mass to the point of suspension in the x axis. We have that spread on the two sides of the y axis, that is on the x as well on the plus positive and negative part of the x axis, and time period is taken in the y axis, and we have the graph plotted. Before we wind up, let us quickly test our understanding by answering these questions. Discuss the theory of bar pendulum. Prove that the center of suspension and center of oscillation are interchangeable. Discuss the maximum and minimum values of time period of oscillation. Demonstrate how to determine the radius of gyration from the graph. Explain how to determine the acceleration due to gravity from the plotted graph. So, with this we conclude this lecture. We will be able to take up the superposition of waves, the superposition of oscillations. When two or more oscillations are combined, what will be the net effect? That is what we are going to learn in the forthcoming sessions. So, with this I wind up this session. Thank you for watching this lecture.